Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of the channel. Today's episode is a little bit special because we have two objectives. One, to rank the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who as a whole. All three episodes are out now and they're moving on to Christmas. So we now have the ability to rank the 60th anniversary altogether. Two, to rank the two comments, and probably more to come, on the Doctor Who The Giggle Was Not Great video that I put out. It's got nearly 100 views and several comments that are debating what I've said in the video, and I wanted to read them out loud and debate back. Now that I've had some time to think about it. So, let's go with the first comment. So, the first comment I saw was from Runnerman 1424, who said, one, simple, the salt caused myths to come into existence. The toy maker is a myth, and under his rules of play, myths can happen, like two TARDISes and by generation. 14 had the face of 10, as it needed to slow down, while a new Unchained 15 can go around being free of all the brooding. 2, by just means to lull. 3, Church on Ruby Rose already has a trailer. I don't know what Church on Ruby Rose is. I do know that Church on Ruby Road is the name of the upcoming Christmas special. But they spelled it Church on Ruby Rose, which is incorrect, but an honest mistake. I'll give you that one. Your first point. Salt caused myths to come into existence. Yes, but in life, all myths have like grains of salt, have a little grain of truth in them that is real. I suppose his using salt made it more real, so made other myths be much more real, if not 100% real, now that he did that at the edge of the universe. But here's the thing. The Toymaker is a myth. Not exactly. He's a legend, which is different from a myth in that it's much more, it is real, but it's such a long time ago and he hasn't been seen up until now, so he's basically become become a legend, as it were, because the Toymaker made an appearance in classic Doctor Who with the first Doctor in a sub-universe, which we've seen before, where we saw the TARDIS become a woman in a sub-pocket universe, which there seems to be a lot of way back during Matt Smith's era, when the TARDIS became a woman, or the TARDIS's Edison's became a woman anyway. So Toymaker is not a myth necessarily, but he is a legend. Under his rules of play, myths can happen like two TARDISes and by generation. Firstly, by generation has, as far as I know, in canon, I don't know about in audio adventures or in comic books, but in the actual TV show, as far as I know, by generation hasn't been mentioned before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe in some obscure line in a classic Who episode, it might have been mentioned, but in modern Doctor Who, by generation has never been mentioned ever. Two TARDISes. They defeated the Toymaker, and things went back to quote-unquote normal before two TARDISes became a thing. His rules of play would no longer... His rules of play, the Toymakers, would no longer apply because he's been defeated. So that doesn't necessarily explain the two TARDISes. The two Doctors might be explained by generation because it happened while the Toymaker was still there, and but the two TARDISes happening when he got hit with the hammer after the Toymaker had been folded into origami and stuffed in a box after he'd been defeated, that doesn't make as much sense. What else did you say? 14 had the phase of 10 as it needed to slow down, while a new unchained and untrained, I would say. 15 can go around free of all the brooding. What brooding? What do you mean? There's a lot of look at the past with, with the older companion, and the Doctor and their entire family, but the daughter actually of Donna Noble is a look into the future because she is non-binary, which was established in the first episode, which makes no sense. But that's a whole nother talking point. Let's see. Bi just means to lull. I'm not exactly sure what's lull about that. In a modern society that's almost completely saturated by agenda, it's a double entendre. It could just mean two. Could very well just mean two. But there's a potential for it meaning something else. They haven't come out and said that it means something else, but they haven't said it doesn't. So that is, I'm confused as you are, maybe. It's a confusing point. It's a confusing point there. I already addressed your third point, but here's another comment from another person. At D Brownie 999 said, "What an odd complaint." I am odd. What can I say? I've been watching Who, amongst other shows, since AA Kid. 2 A's there. And Bi Generation is, period, pretty far down, DOWM, down the list of believable story points, period. The Giggle was the best episode since ... well, ... since CHIBNAL. Not sure exactly what they're trying to spell there. Now there's a dip in quality. Okay, a lot to get into there. Probably a comment that was typed out quickly and you didn't have time to spell check or punctuate correctly. But I won't attack you or your writing ability. Maybe it was autocorrect. Maybe it was just written quickly. I don't know. But what's said? What an odd complaint. Not exactly that odd. I've been watching Who since a kid. Same. I started watching the Ninth Doctor's box DVD set from the library when I was very young, and then caught some Capaldi episodes live way back when. But have watched it ever since, and then during COVID went back and watched all of Classic Who just to catch up. Had a lot of time over COVID to do that kind of stuff, and so I would consider myself a fan of seeing almost all the episodes of classic and modern Doctor Who. Bi Generation is far down. I'm going to just keep using their language. Pretty far down the list of believable story points. Bi Generation, again, as I said before, I don't think has been mentioned before. Unless it has. Again, you'll have to go back to to all the classic Who. And I mean like in canon. I haven't listened to the audio adventures or read the comics. I'm talking about just classic and modern Who shows, not the other spin-off stuff. But yeah, I think it hasn't been done before or mentioned, which I don't know. An old Time Lord myth seems to be a way that they explain a lot of stuff that they don't want to explain otherwise. They just, oh, it's just an old myth. It's just an old Time Lord myth. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I'm gonna worry about it because you haven't mentioned it or explained it ever before. So I'm gonna worry about it. Sorry. Um, let's see. The Giggle was the best episode since blah blah blah. Well, okay. So here's where we start ranking um the while I would agree with you on the point that Doctor Who and other shows have been lacking recently, um, the Giggle is. I don't agree that the Giggle is the best episode. So here's where I rank. Here's where I rank the 60th anniversary episodes. Okay, since all three of them are out now. 1, Wild Blue Yonder, the second one, where they go to the ship. That one I felt more similar to an older episode of Doctor Who, which made it so great. You couldn't exactly, they were so far out you couldn't feel the agenda anymore, which is saying something. You had to get to the beyond the edge of the universe to be able to feel that, which is kind of weird. But anyway, 2 is the Giggle. Wild by generation and the rules of play for the toy maker are a little bit odd. The rest of the episode was relatively okay. And then third and worst of the three is, of course, the first one, which is the Star Beast, in that they had the non-binary daughter of Donna Noble. She could just get over it with what was previously established lore that she would die if she remembered the Doctor, but because she's a woman and the Doctor, who had just been a woman, could never understand, she can just get over it. And asking the pronouns of an alien who turned out to be the villain, that's utter nonsense, in my opinion. Again, this is all opinion, so don't listen to me if you don't want to. That's just my opinion. So yeah, that's how I would rank them. 2 first, which the second of a trilogy of anything seems to always be the best one. 3 is the second best, and then first is the least. Yeah. Dip in quality. For a while now. I don't know the exact episode in which the quality began to go down, but I do know that it was probably. Ooh, let me think about this. Half to 3/4 of the way through Capaldi's run is when it started to decline ever so slightly. But then when you hit the end of Capaldi's run and the beginning of Whittaker's run, that's when you see it, like the brakes come off and the descent just begin in earnest. Because when creating her character, the writers had something, but tripped over their own shoelaces and fell flat on their face halfway through creating the character, because she seems to be an extremely socially awkward and slightly autistic version of the Doctor, and can't quite say what she's thinking and kind of just stands there awkwardly and not saying much until the story needs her to say something and be brilliant. Otherwise, she just kind of stands there and is like, what? Half the time. Not to insult her as an actress. Sorry. I'm sure she's good in a lot of other things. Her version of the Doctor, not entirely her fault. I think it's the writers as well as her that kind of made that Doctor, in my opinion, the most forgettable out of all of them. Even more than, say, 9 or 8 even. Still, Oh boy, I think that the movie, the Doctor Who movie in 1996, which introduced the Eighth Doctor, is probably, I'm gonna say it, better than Whittaker's Run. That might be a hot topic, and you might leave a bunch of comments on this video saying all of the ways that I'm wrong. That's just my opinion. I'm, like you and many other people, just putting my opinion out on the internet for everyone to see. That's about it, actually. Those are the only 2 comments I've gotten on this video so far, and I've pretty much made all of the points. And, yeah. The 60th anniversary rating as a whole, let's rate all of them as a whole. 60th anniversary, I would rate... 6.9 out of 10. Not quite to 7. I would say that with Wild Blue Yonder, they were very close to getting a 7 or above. As a ranker, 7 or above is likable. 6.9 is just barely likable. Maybe watch the Wild Blue Yonder first and then the other 2, which doesn't make sense. But if you don't want it to have a bad taste left in your mouth from watching the first episode first, because that's how it was for me. I was like, yes, we're about to see David Tennant return, and then we saw the Star Beast, and I was like, okay. But if I had seen 2 first, and then in the order that 2 first, 3 second, 1 third, out of order, but it would have at least prepared me for the weird stuff in the first one. But that's all I have to talk about this 60th special. I look forward to seeing, because what you said is correct. Unchained 15. New, Unchained, and Untrained 15 to go about, because he's new, and we haven't quite seen enough of him to know what kind of a doctor he is. So this Christmas special may indeed tell us what kind of a doctor he is, and whether it's worth for me to watch his run as the Doctor, or wait until the next one to see if it's any better. Which it may have to wait quite a while, but then again, I'd wait all the way through Whittaker's Run to get where we are now. So, thank you for joining us for this little TED Talk, and tune in next time.